Dynasty fantasy football owners, week 4 of the NFL is in the books, and we know that you have questions about certain players and whether you should buy into the hype or if you should beware of them. So here's our segment, Buy or Beware, from a Dynasty fantasy football perspective. And if you have any players in particular that you're curious about, comment them below so we can answer them. Buy or beware. All right, our first player. I'll shoot this to you, Steve. Lamar Jackson. You're going to buy or beware on Lamar Jackson?
You know, I've had a difficult time thinking about what I was going to say because I knew we were going to talk about Lamar Jackson this week. And I'm going to go with beware, actually, on this. I think from a dynasty perspective, you know, there's so much uncertainty when it comes to Lamar Jackson. Obviously, he's in a contract year. It's been talked about, quite at length. So really, we don't know whether or not he's going to stay in Baltimore. Obviously, I believe he is a top 5 dynasty quarterback, but with the uncertainty that he has, and he has these games like he did against Buffalo where he just completely falls off the wagon. A lot of times with his rushing ability, he has a high floor. I think most people regard him pretty highly. So I would say beware because I think you could maximize his interest from others and really make out.
That's interesting, Steve. Like you, I've been kind of wrestling back and forth on what I was going to say. I mean, your piece is definitely interesting. I get that, but I think I'm gonna buy him. I think the Ravens figure out a way to get his contract going. He's gonna get extended. He's gonna stay a Raven. I think they have too much invested in the style of offense revolves around him, their personnel. He really fits there, so I'm not as worried. And then the game against Buffalo, I mean, I think the weather had a little bit to factor. You know, Poyer is back. Bill's defense is pretty good. You know, I'm not as concerned with Lamar Jackson going forward as you.
You always say he's not even a quarterback.
I know, man, but then he comes out this year and looks like, being that he's playing in the contract year, it looks like he's putting his best foot forward and looks a lot better. I know what I've said in the past, Steve, but, I think, I'll ride with him here.
Let me ask you this. We're in a contract league. If someone else is in a contract league, would you advise them to sign him to a large contract? Because of how good he is, it's going to be a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, even in our league, he was signed, and it honestly doesn't look that bad of a contract. So, I mean, if you can get him on a similar deal as to what happened in our league, I mean, I don't see why not.
You said Steve, you said he's a top 5 dynasty quarterback, but you would beware of him. I mean, you're not going to it's not easy to get your hands on a top 5 dynasty quarterback.
But I think that there's quite a drop off between him and the likes of Mahomes and Herbert and especially Josh Allen.
Yeah, it sounds like some Bills bias coming through here.
Sounds like some Ravens bias coming in.
No way. No shot.
What you're saying is not wrong, Steve, but I mean, like you said, his rushing floor does definitely help him in fantasy. You know, that's something you got to definitely consider that those others don't necessarily have. So,
all right. Our next buyer beware player is running back Josh Jacobs.
Oh, boy. This is coming from a Josh Jacobs owner. I would beware of him. Josh McDaniels comes from the New England system that doesn't believe in giving one running back the majority of the carries. To my surprise, he actually did last week, maybe after he talked to the owner Davis. Things changed around. He's in a contract year. The Raiders didn't accept his 5th-year option. So I'm going to beware his future going forward, but it was a pleasant surprise, I'll have to tell you.
Yeah, I agree. I'm definitely beware of Jacobs as well. For whatever reason, he always performs well against the Broncos. The Broncos can't stop him. I don't get it. But like you said, the McDaniel system using multiple backs, we'll see if he continues to have weeks like this where they primarily use him and actually give him the carries, even though in prior weeks, as you mentioned in prior talking with you, that his yards per carry have actually been pretty good, but they just haven't dedicated him to get him the ball. But I am, as far as Dynasty, if he does move on from the Raiders, he maybe a situation is better, but yeah, I'd still be aware of him.
All right, next player is wide receiver Tee Higgins.
Yeah, so I'm buying Tee Higgins, and I think it's interesting. I saw a stat line on Twitter where it compared the number of times that Higgins and Chase have been on the field together, and Higgins has actually outperformed Chase, to my surprise. To me, I think Higgins is a wide receiver 2 that has the upside to be wide receiver 1, except for he doesn't get the accolades that Chase does. So he's kind of that perfect player that he ends up performing better than expected, but he doesn't get the buzz centered around him. So I buy him. I got to tell you, when he was drafted in the first round in our Dynasty League, I thought that owner was off his rocker, but I'll take the L on that. That was a good pick. He's a real good player.
Yeah, I'm buying Tee Higgins as well, Steve. I mean, Jamar Chase is drawing all the double coverage on the defense and leaving Tee Higgins one-on-one with guys if they're in man. So, and then he's performing. I mean, he's far too good of a receiver just for teams to leave him one-on-one like the Dolphins did. I mean, they just put Xavier Howard on a complete island, and Higgins beat him time and time again in that game. So I'm definitely buying Higgins.
All right, next player is tight end TJ Hockenson. Buy or beware.
Yeah, so in a world, well, this world of tight ends is completely just upside down, so I guess it justifies in redraft leagues when I don't spend a ton of money. Of course, I did this year for the tight end. But needless to say, I'm buying TJ Hockenson. Obviously, he went off this game, and it helped with Amon-Ra St. Brown and DJ Chark not being there. He got a ton of targets. But even before that, I believe his targets were 4, 7, and 7. So in 2 other games, he had 7 targets. Tight end has been super unpredictable this year. He's young. The Lions, I believe they gave him his 5th-year option. They'll extend him. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's a reliable tight end. I think he can definitely be a tight end 1, for these next few years. Talented player. So I'm buying him going forward.
Yeah, I agree, Steve. I'm buying him going forward as well. Now, I wouldn't expect these type of games to continue to happen. I mean, he won't be getting to play the Seahawks defense, and then, like you said, St. Brown and guys like Chark will be back. So, but I mean, with the world that we live in right now, where the tight ends is just complete crapshoot right now, Hockenson's a good buy.
All right, since we are IDP league, we got to throw a defensive player in there. Defensive end, Rashan Gary. Buy or beware.
Yeah, so I'm buying this. Guy's been playing like a beast. It's interesting when he was first drafted coming out of Michigan. I know you're a Michigan fan, Joe, so you had your doubts about him. He did not have a good start to his career. People thought I kind of overreacted, thought he could be a bust. But since then, man, he has been performing really well. He's had a sack every week so far this season. Had 2 last week. I mean, if you watch that game, he was wrecking havoc on that defense. I think he's a legitimate, defensive end going forward. I think he's really a budding star, and I really like his prospects moving forward.
Yeah, I'm buying him as well, Steve. I mean, like you did say, I was concerned about him early in the Green Bay years. He didn't look good, and I kind of questioned his work ethic, if he was going to be kind of one of those guys who excelled in college, but then was like, yeah, I'm so good that I don't have to put the work in the NFL. But man, he's surely proven us wrong. I mean, you kind of saw him butting into this star that he's become this year. Last year, he had a pretty good year. So then now that he's just kind of taken over that role for Zadarius Smith going, he's been really good. So I don't see why he would slow down at this point.
All right, now I'll kick it to you guys. You've each brought one player to the table that you would either buy or beware of. Steve, we'll start with you. Who's your guy?
Yeah, so I've been pretty down on this player. Definitely lower than others in the industry as far as rookie drafts go. But I'm buying Breece Hall. I think this is the time where that share between him and Michael Carter, it's finally tipping over to where Breece Hall is starting to be the guy. He already has really shown a great burst. He's had a great yard per carry. But this game, he outsnapped Michael Carter. He had way more carries than Michael Carter, and I believe he out-targeted Michael Carter as well. So I think this is a sign of things to come, and I think it's becoming more and more apparent that this is going to be Breece Hall's backfield with a sprinkle of Michael Carter, and it didn't look like that early on. So I'm buying Breece Hall.
Yeah, like you, Steve. Interesting. I'm also going to talk about a rookie running back, and that's Dameon Pierce with the Texans. This was the first week he actually got the full workload as far as carries go. Then he also out-received Rex Burkhead as well in this game. And then you saw the explosive play for the touchdown. That's what we've all been kind of waiting for with Dameon Pierce, is to kind of see some of that stuff that we saw in the preseason. So I'm buying Pierce going forward. I think this is a sign of more things to come.
All right. And if you have any player that you would either buy or be aware of, comment it below, and we'll comment back. We love interacting with people on here. Definitely like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Make sure to hop on board.
I was wondering if you were going to say it.